When I consider the phrase easy to learn, difficult to master, one of the first games I think of is Super Monkey Ball. To understand how the game works takes all of but 1 minute. There is a monkey, in a ball, on a stage, with a goal. With only the analog stick, you tilt the stage to guide the monkey into the goal before the timer runs out. That's it. It is you, an analog stick, and a dream. However, behind a simple control scheme, charming aesthetic, and cute monkeys lies a deep and challenging experience that will test the player's precision, speed, and reflexes in increasingly intricate and demanding levels, all impeccably designed around the game's bedrock, its physics engine. Within this engine, the player must consider momentum, weight, inertia, and more if they want to succeed. This may sound like a lot, but I promise you, it's not. The key is that everything is incredibly intuitive due to the game's seamless integration of these mechanics into the control scheme, as well as the natural responsiveness of the gameplay. Because of this intuitiveness, you are quickly able to get the ball rolling, literally and figuratively, and begin to experience all that the world of Super Monkey Ball has in store for you. With that said, don't let the adorable ii fool you. You are going to be pushed to your limits if you want to become a Super Monkey Ball master. Today, I will be taking a retrospective look at Super Monkey Ball and break down what makes the game so special. I hope you enjoy. Super Monkey Ball is a port of the 2001 arcade title Monkey Ball, and it was released as a launch title for the Nintendo GameCube in 2001. The game was developed by Amusement Vision, a subsidiary of Sega, and the company was originally developing it for the Sega Dreamcast. So instead, Super Monkey Ball became the first game Sega published for a Nintendo home console. And what a first it was. The game includes all the stages from the arcade title and adds new content in the form of minigames and multiplayer experiences. The best place to start is with the main game mode. Super Monkey Ball maintains its structure from its arcade origins. You take on a gauntlet of stages with limited lives and a scoring system designed to keep you coming back for more. You can gain extra lives by nabbing bananas scattered throughout the stages, and you can use a continue if you run out of lives, although the number of these continues will be limited for a while. There are 3 difficulty levels: beginner, advanced, and expert. You can also unlock master stages, but more on that later. Beginner offers a nice introduction with more forgiving stages that give the player the chance to get a feel for the game. There are some stages in here though that can be pretty tricky for first-time players. Floors 7 and 10 come to mind. Advanced is the next step up, and you will now find yourself running through a gauntlet of 30 stages instead of just 10. In beginner, I would expect that after attempting a stage once, you will know how to approach it for the second time in order to clear it. With advanced, however, that's not quite the case. Some of these stages are genuinely challenging and will take a handful of attempts to get the hang of. Luckily, the game includes a practice mode where you can play any of the stages you've unlocked in your attempts of the normal mode. This is an absolute godsend of a mode. Seriously. And finally, we arrive at expert level. It's really freaking hard. Enough said for now. But don't worry, I will be diving into my experiences with this difficulty in due time. I feel this is a good point to discuss progression in Super Monkey Ball. As I see it, every video game features 2 means of progression. The first is your personal progression as you improve at the game and further your understanding of its world and systems. And the second is how you traverse the game, the order in which you take on its levels, the means through which you unlock its content, and other things of that nature. The best games combine both of these types of progression into one cohesive journey for the player. Unfortunately, I do feel as though Super Monkey Ball struggles with this second type of progression though. But first, let's focus on the positive, which is that players in Super Monkey Ball can truly feel their improvement. As they practice and become more precise and quick with their movements, they can return to stages that once gave them trouble, and now complete them with ease. As an example, let's take a look at my own journey through the advanced difficulty level. On my first attempt, I was struck by the step up in difficulty compared to beginner, especially as I reached stages in the double digits. But through my experience running through advanced time and time again, as well as practicing some of the harder stages like 15 and 17, I improved a lot. I started to find some cool tricks that made stages more consistent. Like on how floor 17, I was able to jump down from this platform instead of having to follow a narrow path as time is running out. I also started to take advantage of warp goals, which are goals that reward exploration within a level and allow you to skip a few stages. There's one on floor 6 to advance to floor 10, a red one on floor 18 to advance to floor 25, and one on floor 25 to advance to floor 28. In fact, on floor 25, I found a shortcut to make reaching this warp goal automatic. Eventually, all my hard work paid off as I can now consistently clear all the stages without using any continues. I can not only feel the progress I've made in improving my skills, but I also have in-game feedback as proof. I won't lie, there were points in my journey through Advanced where I found myself frustrated, and yet whenever I failed a stage, I was able to quickly diagnose what went wrong, and I always knew it was my fault. Therefore, it was satisfying when I finally did beat a floor I had been stuck on, and when I began to beat it more consistently, and when I finally mastered it. There is no luck. Success in Super Monkey Ball is directly correlated with the practice and improvement in skills. So, Super Monkey Ball excels at the first type of progression. But what about the second type, which refers to how a player traverses the game? Well, it's much rockier. As I alluded to in my in-depth discussion of Advanced, the jump between difficulty levels is pretty darn steep. I would even go as far as to say it is too steep. The issue isn't the difficulty of the individual stages, but rather the increase in the number of stages. The number of stages increasing with the difficulty feels counterintuitive. You would think that the harder challenge would be shorter, or in the worst case, the same length. But an increase in 20 stages means you're no longer just being tested on your skills, but your endurance as well. And this is where the expert difficulty really comes into play in this discussion of progression. Expert level is not for the faint of heart. It consists of 50 stages requiring extremely high level precision and timing. At first, this task felt impossible. I tried it a couple times, but found myself struggling to advance past the first handful of stages. So before I gave Expert a really good run for its money, I decided I needed to unlock infinite continues. And this brings us to the wonderful world of play points. You obtain play points from, you guessed it, playing the game. You get more points for playing longer and for playing on higher difficulties, but I was never quite able to figure out how the game calculated how many points you should get at the end of a run. Anyways, play points unlock two key features. The first are minigames. There are 3 to unlock, each costing 2,500 play points. These are billiards, bowling, and golf. I will discuss these in more detail later. Once you've unlocked all the minigames, play points will start going towards increasing your number of continues. You start the game with 5, and you will gain an additional 1 for each 2,500 play points you collect. Once you have 9 continues, your next 2,500 will unlock infinite continues. Overall, I do not care for play points. They are restrictive and only serve as a means for the player to feel a false sense of progression. There is no reason for the game to lock the minigames behind this mechanic, especially because there are 3 other games called party games that are unlocked from the get-go, despite being very similar in substance to the minigames. Likewise, there's no reason to restrict the number of continues if you are eventually just going to let the player have an unlimited amount anyways, purely out of playing the game for a little bit. Well, now that I've unlocked infinite continues, I can finally give Expert a real shot. Expert is at a personal crossroads for me. I am extremely competitive with myself and love challenges. However, I typically prefer my video game challenges to either require mastery of a relatively short experience, or to allow me to pace myself through a longer one. Super Monkey Ball's Expert mode, when you are going in for the very first time with no prior knowledge of any of the stages, is a long, grueling challenge that you pretty much have to complete in one go because of the game's gauntlet structure. It took me probably over 2 hours and God knows how many continues to clear Expert. If I had to break down the most difficult aspects of Expert, it would be the more precise movement that is required of the player across a number of stages, as well as the implementation of more timing-based challenges. Something else that is important to note about Expert is the lack of warp goals. See, part of the reason I started having more consistent success with Advanced was that the warp goals cut down the number of stages I was playing. Sure, there was a risk-reward aspect to them since they're harder to reach than the regular goals, but once I mastered those stages, it's no longer a problem. By using all of the warp goals in Advanced, you end up skipping floors 7 through 9, 19 through 24, 26, and 27. That's 11 stages out of 30 you can skip. That means you play just under 2/3 of the advanced stages to clear the final floor. Expert is much more sparing with its inclusion of warp goals. Floors 2 and 3 each have one that allow you to skip to floor 5, but you won't see another warp goal until floor 42. That floor, like floor 18 at advanced, has a green warp goal and a red one. The green one allows you to skip to 44, while the red one allows you to skip to 45. There is one final warp goal on Expert 46 that allows you to skip to Expert 48.
You gotta be kidding me.
So at most, you can skip floors 3, 4, 43, 44, and 47. A grand total of 5 out of 50 Expert stages, or just 10%. This makes Expert feel longer than it really is in comparison to Advanced. I'm not saying Expert can't be fun. I'm just saying that it will take a while before you start seeing real success with it. Before I move on to the minigames, there is one final thing I want to mention about progression. Unlockable stages. First, this game has extra stages for each difficulty level that you will get to play through if you complete a run without losing a single life in Beginner or Advanced, or without using a Continue on Expert. Easy enough for Beginner, relatively possible in due time with Advanced, I haven't gotten there yet but I'm close, and damn near impossible for Expert. Upon defeating Expert without using a single Continue, you also unlock secret Master stages. I certainly did not unlock these in my time with the game. You can see what I mean by how this game embodies the phrase, difficult to master. I don't necessarily mind having playable content locked behind incredibly difficult tasks, but it would at least be nice if the extra stages could be played in practice mode once you've played them once. To take it one step further, I also feel as though these could be cool pieces of content to unlock in practice mode with play points as an alternate means for players who are still improving and are not quite at a level yet where they can unlock extra or master stages through completing difficult runs. And that's the main game of Super Monkey Ball. Even though I do have some issues with how the game handles its in-game progression, and I struggle with its implementation of the original arcade features, Super Monkey Ball is a phenomenal game that I find to be a ton of fun. And the main game isn't even the whole story. Behold, the greatest collection of minigames in a game about monkeys rolling around in balls that was released on the launch day of the Nintendo GameCube. Let's start with the ones that are actually called minigames, because for some reason, Amusement Vision felt the need to separate its minigames into two categories. First up is billiards. You are in competition to see who can knock in the 9-ball first. As with the rest of the game, the controls are simple and the physics feel natural. Billiards is a fun time, but it's nothing to write home about. Next up, we have bowling. Of all the games, I gotta say, this one doesn't control great. You press A to choose a direction, then power, and then you can put some spin on the ball because, let's be honest, you were totally about to send your monkey rolling right off the side of the lane. Finally, mini golf. It's the most self-explanatory. Pick a direction, pick how far you want to roll, and boom. Okay, let's move on to the party games. This category also has 3. Monkey Race. It's a Mario Kart clone. Monkey Fight. A brawl game that has iffy controls. But my god, is it a ton of fun. And finally, Monkey Target. Everybody loves this one. It must be because when the monkey inevitably falls into the ocean, the ball around it closes, trapping the monkey and drowning them. Let's be honest, it's a great way to take out frustration from expert mode. In my opinion, the minigames are just okay. They don't take away from the experience of Super Monkey Ball, but for me, they don't add a ton either. None of them feel like they are truly building on the game's mechanics, which is a shame. I found bowling, golf, and Monkey Target to be downright frustrating. Also, and this is absolutely a 2024 take, but if I want to play golf or bowling, I'm going to play Wii Sports or Wii Sports Resort. And if I want to play a Mario Kart clone, I'll just play Mario Kart. But at the time this game was released, those weren't options. In North America, Mario Kart Double Dash was 364 days away. The Wii and Wii Sports were 5 years away. So yeah, as someone who grew up with the Wii, these minigames are unremarkable. But I can appreciate what they meant for their time. And I know for a ton of people, they add a lot to the experience. And that's awesome. And hey, maybe one day I'll truly understand the beauty of Monkey Target and why it is so universally beloved. But for now, I'll stick with the main game. In the end, with its minimalist approach, Super Monkey Ball offers something for everyone. You come for the adorable monkeys and simple controls, and you stay for the deep gameplay mechanics and well-crafted challenges. The game may have its flaws in terms of progression mechanics, but its ability to foster personal growth is undeniable. I have improved my skills so much from my first foray into beginner, and I can only imagine where I'll end up as my journey through Super Monkey Ball keeps on rolling. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and leave a comment down below discussing your own thoughts on Super Monkey Ball, or your thoughts on the new game that was just announced. I'd absolutely love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.